Yo, what's going on, guys? We're back for another perfect BG's deck rankings video. And in this video, we're going to be going over the 3 to 4 meta, which is about to drop tomorrow when I release this video, which is Polka Dot and Power Shield. So, if you guys were looking for just kind of a generic rankings video, just, the best BG's champs in most, if not all metas, go check out my other video, which shout out Seaton for promoting it. Absolute homie right there. But yeah, before we jump into the specifics of this champ rankings vid, I just wanted to go over the benefits of properly preparing for a meta. Now, I'm going to use an analogy that I hope some of you will appreciate, which is chess. So in chess, you really want to prioritize your openings when you're just a new player trying to, increase your rating as fast as possible. And that's because a good opening will oftentimes lead to a very high accuracy because it's just going to set your game up for success. It's going to put you in a position where the moves are just going to start flowing and the game's just going to kind of take care of itself. So that's exactly how creating your BG's deck is. And so we see here, this is bit of a tilting player, maybe a player who didn't exactly plan for the meta as well as they could have. And by the way, these types of graphs are all available on a website called Cockpit. I will link it in the description. Shout out Jerry. I'll link his channel as well. So you see in this graph that this player is going up and down pretty much the entire meta, and there was really no consistency therein. This, on the contrary, is someone who planned properly for the meta, got the champs that they needed into their deck right away, and just took off. And this is what I want to help you guys to achieve. So this, on the right, this is the kind of graph that we want. On the left, that is a lot of pain and suffering and tilting and not very fun. So if you can get the champs that you need, you put yourself in a position to do extremely well, especially in these nuky, draft-dependent, we need some better metas than this, but we can talk about that in another time. This video, we're going to be focused on the champs themselves. So, first off, you got, I guess we'll go over the key. So we've got the auto draft staples, player's choice, and the alternatives. And then at the bottom, we've got the symbols, which we've got the sword, means attacker, shield, defender. Omega symbol is a meta-defining defender, very important. And then the little asterisk next to some of the champs, I think there's 3 of them in here, are going to be my choice champs that I'll be running in my deck, even though they didn't quite make the top 30. And then the dash line is the 30 cutoff. And I guess we'll just start with the 2 most broken attackers that are an absolute S+++ tier. First one's Jean. Yeah, so Jean is going to be doing just special 1, 29 seconds on Zola. Class disadvantage, she doesn't care. Absolute madness. Onslaught against Thanos, he's got his protection mechanic. It doesn't matter because of the Daunted. 34 seconds, 52k. Yeah, these are the types of scores that we're going to be seeing pretty frequently this meta. Should be interesting. All right, so I think we could just start with Mutant here. So we've got Jean and Onslaught. Obviously, we know those 2 are going to be absolutely insane. I've got the smaller icons here, as you can see, like the small shield next to Onslaught, small sword next to Nick Fury. Those are just to indicate that they could have some dual threat use, but they'll mostly just be their larger icon symbol. I think there's only like Chi. Yeah, there's like maybe Zola. Only a couple champs that are like true dual threats this meta, because champs like Serpent, his power gain is going to let him get to a couple of specials, which will give him some damage, but that power gain is just going to be too slow relatively for the absolute nuke fights that the opponents are going to have. Same thing with Solvark, but we'll go over that So yeah, there's not really many dual threats this meta, which is going to be very interesting. Going to be just draft the defender, draft the counter, or pre-draft the counter for their defender. It's just going to be back and forth. Just a card game this entire meta. Which, yeah, that's kind of the trend that we've been seeing with a lot of metas recently. But let's go over Mutant. So talk about Gene and Onslaught. We got Iceman, who I believe is going to be a top 3 defender this meta. Iceman, just absolute demon. He's got so many immunities, inflicts a cold snap on his opponent, and yeah, Iceman is going to be a problem. So if you don't run Iceman, and if you don't run at least his 2 counters that I believe will be his top counters, which are Gene and Ironheart, then I think you should just ban Iceman. Just don't give yourself a headache this meta. Just get rid of him. Cap Britain is going to be extremely annoying. A lot of the tech champs that usually take her, like Jack, are not going to be able to work this meta at all. Maker as well. So Bastion's going to be like the best option there, but still, it's not really a 52k fight. So, and Solvark as well is going to be a bit slower, since he has to rely on the power gain and then special 1, special 2. And Cap Britain also has protection, and she applies neuroshocks on other champs like Ushala who try and take her. So really the best counter and the only nuke counter to Cap Britain is going to be Wolf. And you really want to use Wolf pretty much everywhere this meta. That's why I've got Cap Britain in the auto draft here. She's also going to have a tiny bit of dual threat capabilities, since she can apply a Neuroshock, which is passive as well on her opponent, which could be pretty useful. And we got Cassandra Nova, and she's going to be an extremely versatile attacker this meta. She's going to be taking really annoying defenders like Zemo, no problem. Yelena, no problem. Nick Fury, she cancels out his second life. She'll be taking like Chi, Moman, like all those annoying skills. And then you can even use her for some more alternative matchups like Photon. She's very, very good for. And let's see who else. Yeah, I mean, Cassandra is just going to be a very, very safe pick. I think a very good early pick this meta. So yeah, she's easily in the staples tier. And then we've got Havoc and Domino. And these two are just going to be energy damage machines on you. You need a counter. You need a good counter, because if you don't have one, you're going to lose a lot of health and just instantly lose the match if you lose any health to a detonation or a crit fail. And Bastion's going to be your best domino counter. And for Havoc, it's going to be Wolf, of course. Or Ironheart will be great for Havoc. Let's see. Tigra. Yeah, so those 3 can all do rupture damage to him. And physical damage is obviously the safe play against Havoc. So yeah, we'll see some pretty good cooks out of them. I don't think that Havoc will be as dominant as some people were saying, because having 3 counters is well, I guess Scorpion as well, 4 counters. Zola, kind of. No, I think they'll be there. People will be drafting his counters. But yeah, we'll see. DPX. So DPX is all the way down here, almost outside of the cutoff, which is very surprising for a Nuki Power Shield meta. But the fact of the matter is, with DPX, his opponent has to be able to bleed, or else he's just not going to be able to gain any power, not going to be able to do any damage to them. So he's fairly easy to draft around. But if they do place a defender that isn't bleed immune, oh, DPX is just going to shred through that in 1 special 1. He'll probably be the fastest attacker, just, yeah, when they're not bleed immune. Absolute nuke right there. But personally, I'm going to be running Sunspot. And I believe Sunspot's going to be very, very good. Mostly for the fact that he is going to be probably the best Rhino counter. And everyone's going to be getting Rhino in week 3 to 4. This guy is going to be pretty good stall. You don't want to do physical debuffs to Rhino because he has so much physical resistance. So you want to go with more energy options. And Sunspot, energy damage, he's going to have a ton of power gain with his heavies as well, and just constant incinerate throughout the fight. So I believe Sunspot is going to be pretty decent. Nick Fury and Yelena as well, be able to take. And Photon. Yeah, it'd be great for Photon. Just absolutely nuke. His special 2 with Power Shield is going to go so hard. And then Dust, we got here down alternatives. She does have some immunities, so worth mentioning as a potential defender. Got her. But yeah, it's just there's so many good mutants that couldn't really justify putting Dust outside of alternatives because you'd probably be running most of these if you can. So in the skill class, we got Yelena. She's going to be an amazing stall defender, which is just invaluable in these types of metas. When a defender is not able to be nuked any faster than like 40 seconds, that brings a lot of value to them when some other defenders like Dark Phoenix, for example, could just get Nico'd in like 20 seconds. So yeah, Yelena, amazing stall this meta. Potentially an auto pick. I think that's a pretty fair thing to say. Punisher is only going to have one counter, and it's Jean Grey. So I'm going to be just banning him because I don't have him. Yeah, Punisher is devious defender. Yeah, I think he kind of speaks for himself. Just with his limited amount of counters, it just makes him an auto pick. Nick Fury is not quite an auto pick because of the fact that DPX is going to just take him in like 19 seconds. But if you're banning DPX, I think that could definitely warrant an auto pick category for Nick Fury. Since he's definitely going to be stalling quite a bit with a lot of other champs. Even Cassandra Nova doesn't really nuke him relatively. Since someone could do a 25 second, 30 second fight, like we saw that Onslaught Thanos screenshot I did. Cassandra would be a bit slower on Nick. Than even Thanos could stall. So I think Nick could potentially, with the right, if you just draft him at the end or if you ban DPX, could be just a top defender this meta. And then we got Zemo. So Zemo is going to be very, very annoying, especially if you don't have like Onslaught or Cassandra Nova for him, because he has his 5 cleanse cleanse charges. And if all 5 of them are removed, then you get rooted. And so if you're using someone like Jean or DPX for him, then you're going to have to deal with the root in order to get any power gain on him and do any damage whatsoever. So that root could be a little bit scary. If you take like a couple block hits into it, it's going to do some damage and potentially lose the round for you. Then we got Okoye. So Okoye is under player's choice. I'm personally not going to be running her just because of the fact that the meta has, what is the node? It's 2 specials in a row. You'll take a detonation. Yeah, Hurt Locker. So Hurt Locker is going to prevent Okoye from just doing her normal special 1 Okoye lock on the opponent, unless you just risk it and hope that you can get a heavy in before the detonation hits. But yeah, with Okoye, she's going to be hitting hard, but I'm not going to run. I just don't think, as well with her, her ensnare can actually fail the power gain from the node while you're hitting them, so she can feel very slow with power gain. And her matchups are kind of more limited. She can't take stuff like Thing. She can't take stuff like Kindred. Can't take like Thanos. She's okay for Dark Phoenix, but there's better options. Obviously same with Serpent. Rhino, I think, yeah, she can still shock him because he only decreases bleed ability accuracy. But there's also these annoying mutants, and Okoye has no dual threat capabilities, so I just figure that these really strong mutants are going to cover for her. It's just my opinion, but I got Shield. So I'm also going to be trying her out. She's a perfect definition of a dual threat this meta. If they bleed, then she can work on attack. If they don't, then you can just drop her on defense, and she's going to be kind of just like a lesser version of Zemo on defense. And then Mole Man, pretty much the same thing. If you do have a Mole Man ranked, then I think he'll be a very, very good option to run this meta. Sure, we'll be seeing like Nagase running his rank for Mole. And then we got the other alternatives here. Bullseye, Atuma, and Korg, pretty self-explanatory. They're just nuked by Jean and Onslaught. And, it's tough for them to cook when they just get destroyed by these, by the Power Shield node. And with all these passive damage over time champs now, they're not really cooking as hard. Especially with, Atuma is probably the best option of these because he really only has Jean and Onslaught. But Korg has, champs like Kushala that can take him. Same with Bullseye. And DPX is going to destroy Bullseye, like 53k, but he couldn't take these other two. So I think honestly, out of these three, Atuma is probably the one I would rank the highest for this meta, but still not really making the cut as alternatives. Then Kingpin, he's just another skill shrugger. And, the problem with these skill champs is that the mutant class is just so dominating that it's tough for them to really find any space to cook without the right ban strat. And then finally, we just got Black Cat. Problem with Black Cat this meta is that she can't really take Photon or Thing because they're bleed immune, so she can't gain any power. So it's not really worth running Black Cat this meta. And then we got Thing, Rhino, Photon, just absolute beefy defenders. They're going to be carrying the science class of defenders for quite a while now. And Rhino, I think, is just a great addition to pair with Thing. That just puts a lot of pressure on your opponent, smacking those two guys down. And that's why I've got them as meta-defining defenders here. Especially the fact that, their normal counters like Black Cat and Crossbones, Kingpin, they can't gain any power, so they won't be able to take them whatsoever this meta. And the skill class has just dominated this meta by defenders. Having bleed immunity as a science defender is so overpowered. Because, the skill class is all about bleed. And if you don't allow that in the science class, then you're just going to be cooking. So, mostly for these science defenders, the best options are going to be these mutants. Or actually, like Wolf can be very, very good for Photon. And Nico is actually very good for Rhino as well, because Nico can not deal with his Unstoppable whatsoever, because she has her grit passive like pretty much the entire fight. Scorpion would be amazing. I've got him as an attacker, obviously, but a tiny bit of a dual threat because he does have Rupture and Shock immunity, just his base kit. So on offense, his special 2 is going to cook like crazy. It's going to do a ton of damage with the burst. And his healing could prove very useful for some champs like Iceman. Hopefully the special 2 doesn't kill him before you can heal. But yeah, Scorpion's going to be very versatile. Also very good for these other science champs. So, and you can pick and choose between Poison, Rupture, Shock with him. So yeah, Scorpion's going to be very, very, very good science attacker this meta. And then we've got Electro. Got him as a player's choice. He was kind of mentioned to me by a few people. I had to throw him in there for that reason. But to me, Electro is not going to really be the best option for defense this meta, just because of the fact that Polka Dot Power Shield, you're not going to do any damage until you actually throw a special. So there's a lot of champs with non-contact specials that, like Carolina, could just play normally and then nuke with their specials and they won't take any damage back. Who else is like that? Bastion Special 1 would just nuke Electro in his non-contact. And then, there's Cassandra Nova for him. I bet Jean Grey, because her special 1's non-contact, and then I would just nuke Onslaught, obviously. So yeah, Electro I think is going to be pretty difficult to trap anyone with this meta, but still, if you do trap them, then that's an auto win, because taking any damage this meta is GG's. And then High Evo has no immunities except for Rupture, which I think gives him a little bit of value because it stops these Rupture Mystics. But still, like, you could just use someone like DPX for High Evo and just nuke him in like 19 seconds. So High Evo just doesn't really have the immunities to cook this meta. He's kind of one of those champs that needs the fight to drag out, and with Inequity and his annoying abilities that come up throughout the fight, that's when he starts to cook. And then we got Torch. He does have his Nova Flame, which is extremely versatile. He's going to be used for a lot of champs. But the thing with Torch is that, the Mystic class, other than Kindred, doesn't have any defenders that I see are going to be relevant this meta. So yeah, and then there's like Jean Grey you could usually use him for, but she's just going to be always used on attack. Nico you usually use him for, she's always going to be used on attack this meta. And then for like Thanos, he's pretty viable, but for Thanos, you're going to take a little bit of block chip, and that's definitely going to lose the round for you. So Torch I don't see as meta viable, just with the defenders that we'll be seeing placed. And then Jessica Jones has no immunities. She does have her weakness that she places on the opponent when they throw a special, but with Power Shield, I just don't see that weakness cooking that hard. There's champs, just special one champs like DPX that'll just nuke before she can even ramp fully. And so, yeah, I don't think Jessica is going to be very good. I-Bomb, he actually places a poison on himself, so he's going to allow anyone to have power gain versus him. But on attack, he could be okay. He does have his poison damage, which is very, very good. And, with his special 2, if the opponent actually took some block chip from him, then I suppose he could be all right. But it's just, I was really actually thinking about ranking I-Bomb for this meta and then testing him in the off season, realizing that he gives anybody power just because of the poisons on himself. I was like, shoot, it's over for I-Bomb. But yeah, Spider-Woman, she's not going to be used on attack at all since she can't gain any power this meta. And then on defense, she was nerfed. She lost her ensnare ability, which was really, really annoying. So I don't think Spider-Woman's even worth running this meta. But yeah, moving on to Mystic, we got Nico, Push, and Wolf. Going to be absolute auto picks. These guys are going to be hard carrying the meta. Everyone's going to be spamming them every single match. Wolf and Kushala are so versatile, and Nico too, honestly. It's just the fact that these guys take so many different champs. Like, Nico has no business taking these science champs, but she does. Wolf has no business taking stuff like Cat Britain, but he does. Kushala can take stuff like Cat Britain as well if you get pretty good Neuro RNG, and Kushala's special 1 will literally kill anything. You just have to get there. And you can gain power with Kushala with her ignitions, because if you have MD maxed, you can actually gain quite a bit of power just from placing buffs on the opponent. And yeah, her special 1 will just absolutely cook. Only way to get around Kushala is placing Incinerate Immune. Luckily, there are some Incinerate Immune options. It's quite a few actually. But, she's so amazing for Serpent and Deathless Thanos, and they are so common because they're very good stalls that I think Kushala is going to still be an auto draft. And then Nico is literally like 2 special 1s, and Serpent dies, Dark Phoenix dies, Deathless Thanos as long as he doesn't trigger protection, because pretty sure it's most of the time he dies with 2 special 1s. Might be safer to go special 2 though first, Nico. But yeah, these 3 are just going to be insane. And then we got Tigra. So Tigra is a really nice option for Kindred, Havoc, some of these annoying, some of these very annoying trap defenders. Tigra will just keep you safe from them. She can have so much power gain. She has Ruptures, which are super versatile. And Tigra is just a nuke. We all know how Tigra is. 400% power shield. That special 2 is going to be absolutely insane. And then Kindred, really nice defender. Just the fact that you have to have another special ready, or you're going to get rooted against him in his final degen phase. The only reason why I have Kindred so low here, and other people were saying he should be higher, is the fact that Polka Dot Power allows you to gain power back to another special. So I was like using Wolf, which is kind of a bad example because Wolf nukes everything, but Wolf against Kindred, special 2, special 1, you get back to the special 1 by the time Kindred dies and enters that 5%, and then you just kill him off with the special 1. Scorpion will be really, really good for him. Jean, obviously amazing option for Kindred. And then, yeah, I mean, there's going to be options. But still, if you get Kindred trapped, like, that's always just an auto loss. That guy's such a demon on defense. We got Diablo and Spiral. These, I think, are really, really useful to run this meta, just for the fact that Diablo is obviously amazing for Dark Phoenix, because you can poison, and then Serpent he's very good for. You can also go outside of the Cosmic class and take this alternative matchup of Thing, because Thing is not poison immune. And Diablo Special 2 just goes so crazy with Power Shield. Like those poisons basically kill anything that's not poison immune. So Diablo, amazing option. And Spiral, very, very versatile Rupture champ. I think I've got her here as mostly just a backup Serpent option. You know, we want to have plenty of options for these annoying stall Cosmics. And I think a lot of people will be running quite a few Mystics because they're just so dominant with this node set. That's the reason why I don't have these Cosmics in the auto pick category. And then, yeah, some of these alternatives, Doctor Strange, decent Serpent option. Saw Nick136 using him in the offseason. Mephisto, he's got immunities. If you take a little bit of Aura of Incineration, that could lose you the match. Sassy, it's actually an Iceman option for the fact that Cold Snap, you know, obviously doesn't do anything to Sassy, and he can Rupture him to gain power. Problem with Sassy, though, is he doesn't scale well with Power Shield, and he doesn't really do that much damage with his Special 2, but still, Iceman option if you need one. But if you ask me, just rank Ironheart. Cosmic, so we got Deathless Thanos, Dark Phoenix, and Serpent, the usuals. Don't really have to mention why they're the usuals. They have both stall mechanics and BS, unavoidable damage like Dark Phoenix, and Serpent's block invasion. So yeah, what do we do here? Let's undo that. Carolina, pretty much always the fourth Cosmic in any meta, just for the fact that she's honestly just the best Cosmic attacker in most metas. And this meta is, you know, it's no different. She can actually power gain just with her base abilities, just Thing in the Sun. And then her Special 2 nukes pretty much anything. She's going to be very useful for these techs like Solvark and Zola that you don't want to get trapped by. So Carolina, however, if she doesn't one-shot with her Special 2, which she might not for some of these other classes, I think she's going to be more of just a specific like Spiral type of play where she just, you know, hard counters these tech options, and you don't really have to draft her outside of that for this meta. Then Hyperion and Venom are going to be very good player's choice. Hyperion has the same power gain as Carolina, and honestly, he might be more versatile than Carolina, but I don't think as many people have him ranked up, so maybe they won't prefer to rank him and just run him instead of Carolina. But we'll have to see. Hyperion is going to be so good. He has power gain on his own. Special 1 applies Incinerate, so even more power gain. Then his specials just go crazy. Venom, a damage over time machine. Just, you know, his bleeds are going to cut through anything that's not bleed immune. So yeah, W Venom. And then Maestro, his glancing mechanic could be pretty annoying to stop people from applying debuffs on their basic attacks. But the thing with Maestro is that I just put him here in alternative because a lot of these just nukey power shield options are going to get through him before his glancing even comes. And then Scream, she needs the opponent to not be bleed immune, which is very unfortunate because there's a lot of champs that really just stop her. But I think Scream's such a fun champ. I wish that she had more metas where she was really good for. And then Null and Hulkling I just added to fill out the Cosmic options because Cosmic is so top heavy, it's like hard to find any. Null has like a couple of resistances like bleed, and he has inequity. If there was a special, you take some block damage. I don't know. Hulkling could gain a little bit of power with his buffs. I guess that's something he could technically get to a Special 2. But yeah, don't run these guys. Cosmic class is so top heavy. You just need these top options, and they're pretty much just goated for every single meta. It doesn't matter what meta it is. And then Tech class, it's actually the opposite of Cosmic class. Not top heavy at all. It's just very solid throughout. So many options every single meta that we see. And this meta, we're going to see Bastion, Solvark, Zola ran in pretty much every single deck. And I think that Ironheart should be ran in every single deck. But I'll understand if people don't want to rank her just for one meta. But starting with Bastion here. So Bastion is able to apply a passive Disintegrate on his heavy. And that's going to allow him to power gain pretty much against anybody. And his Special 1 with Power Shield is just amazing. So you just have to get him up to 30 charges, and then Bastion Special 1 pretty much nukes like almost anything that doesn't have some protection mechanic or whatever. And then Solvark here, he is able to apply Cold Snap on his medium, his second medium. And as a defender, super annoying. I put him under the meta-defining defender Omega symbol for the fact that you have to use basically Rupture against Solvark. Anything else is not a cook because I think like Carolina with her Incinerate, since she's Cosmic, is the only other option on here that's fine. It's not Rupture. But yeah, Solvark, if you apply Shock, Incinerate, he's Poison immune, he's Bleed immune. Like, there's just not many damage over time options for Solvark, which makes him just inherently so good for Polka Dot meta. And then Zola, unfortunately for Zola, damage over time still gets through with the power shield. So champs like Kushala, 1 special 1, Zola's dead. Wolf, 1 special 2, Zola's dead. So yeah, Zola, he might suffer a bit from that. But I do like the fact that he's a dual threat. He has his own disintegrates on his heavies, which will give him some power, and his specials will actually scale pretty well with the power shield node. So I think Zola is still in the staples tier just for the fact that he's a dual threat, but don't expect him to cook too hard on defense. There's going to be plenty of options for him, but he'll be nice because there's not many dual threat options this meta. And then Ironheart, we went over the fact that she's going to be the best Iceman counter. Amazing for Havoc. Just a lot of these annoying mutants. So Ironheart is super versatile because she can start with Incinerate. That's her base debuff that she applies. But I like always using her Pre-Fight, which applies Rupture. And Rupture, as we know, is super versatile debuff. It's kind of just running this entire meta, like the Rupture champs, just taking so many different champs. So Ironheart, that special 2 is going to absolutely nuke anything. Yeah, Ironheart W champ. I can't wait to use her this meta. Prowler, it's also a Rupture champ, but his Rupture doesn't last that long. It's passive and it just kind of, it's done. And then you have to keep applying it when he, quote unquote, crits. And his special 2 will pretty much nuke anything, but I don't think that he is quite to the level of these other debuff option champs that are just a lot more reliable than he is. And then Sentinel, just finishing up the list here, Sentinel, Penny, Yondu, Guardian, Lady D. So Sentinel is an Iceman option, I guess. He's Cold Snap immune. He can apply Shock, which Iceman's not immune to. But Sentinel is, his big damage comes from his Incinerates, and Iceman is immune to those, so he'd be pretty slow there. So I'm definitely going to be running Ironheart instead of him. Sentinel also gets nuked by a lot of different champs like Kush, Wolf, even like Gene, Onslaught would nuke him. So yeah, his defensive potential is just not there this meta whatsoever. Just for the fact that Power Shield is just a crazy node. Penny, I like the idea of Penny. She could be kind of annoying because you can't disable her shield by just hitting into it with basic attacks, because you can't do any damage with basic attacks this meta. So Penny could auto block at a really annoying moment and ruin your entire special. Then you'd have to just wait to power gain to another special. So I think Penny could be actually an annoying option on defense this meta. We'll have to see. She might move up into this tier. I'll have to check it more. The problem with Penny is that there's just such busted champs like CPX. If she doesn't auto block, she's dead so fast. Onslaught can apply through the block. Jean's gonna be 1 special 1. So it's like these 1 special 1 champs that won't give her many opportunities to auto block. But I think actually I'm gonna put her in player's choice. Yeah, that looks a lot better. So I think Penny is actually kind of an option this meta. I'm kind of wanting to try her now that I think about it, because that would be so annoying if she auto blocks and just ruins your entire fight. Doesn't let you get your special damage off. Yeah. Yondu, fortunately, he doesn't scale well with Power Shield. And yeah, he's amazing in Invade, as we saw. But Power Shield, his special 1s, they weren't really doing too much damage in the off-season testing that I did. And Hurt Locker just doesn't allow him to do anything because you want to be spamming those special 1s with him. You're going to have to weave in heavies after every other special 1, which is really annoying. And yeah, he's just not going to be the monster that he is in Invade. Um, yeah, Guardian, same thing as Penny with the auto block, could be very annoying. I'm sure that some people like Apple with their rank 4 Guardian are going to try and get some people with that. And then Lady D with her ruptures, she could do something, but there's plenty of other options that are much, much faster than she is. So she's down there in the alternatives. Well, so that is the entire spreadsheet that I made. And if you guys want more of a visual, I did make this little tier list. And the cutoff is right here at Zola for 30, for 32 champs, actually, I think. So yeah, so these are going to be the absolutely busted champs. These are going to be staples, and then these as well are going to do very, very well situationally. And then these are kind of player dependent. And then anything below here, I wouldn't really recommend running unless you have to. Again, it's such a specific meta that I'm sure some of these will be seen in decks. It's just you probably won't be drafting them because everything is focused on these guys. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much if you made it the entire video. Appreciate you guys so much. Yeah, just hopefully this meta isn't too enraging, too tilting, because losing to your opponent, putting up like 52.5k is never the best feeling. But don't let it get you down. Just do whatever you can, and hope this list helps you guys. Yeah, we're gonna call it here though. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.